Hey everyone, welcome back. Dave in History for the Ages here. So something fun. So many of my lectures are pretty serious, but this is kind of one of these kind of thought-provoking videos that I think a lot of people really enjoy. I can't wait to hear your comments on this one. But I'm going to share you a series of images that are either 100 years or less apart, right? So this first one here is you have people on horses and, crossing the United States on horse and carriage, and somebody living 100 years could have lived through that and seen the moon landing. It's pretty crazy. And one of the questions that I have, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments, have we advanced more in the last 100 years than maybe all of human history combined? And then what does that mean moving forward if we keep going at this rate? All right. And as I go through these images, and the last one is really kind of mind blowing, the last thing I want to share with you at the end of this video, which of these do you think is the most amazing change, right? So this one I think is pretty crazy if you lived 100 years and you saw all this. But let's go through some others here. So here's 1910s and 1960s, right? So 1910s, you'd go down to somewhere like New York or something, and people have, got horse and carriages. And in 1960s, passenger jets are the norm. People are in passenger jets and flying here and there, probably even 1950s, but definitely by the 60s, this is a pretty norm thing to do. Here's another one in terms of like how we communicate a bit. In the 1870s, telegraph. 1970s, about 100 years later, we've got these early computers. And even just think about, look, this is 1970s personal computer, and think of what we have today, right? And how much that leap has gone. I've got something kind of a little bit more recent to show you that's even more, I think, astounding than this. So that's another kind of cool way of looking at it. And this is it. This is one of my favorite slides in the whole video that I'm making here. So this is 1956. What you're looking on the left is a 5 megabyte hard drive. To give you perspective, a 5 megabyte hard drive might hold a few books, maybe 100 really low resolution images. I couldn't even record this video on a 5 megabit hard drive, right? The one on the right is just your portable 10 terabyte hard drive, right? Or not hard drive, but 10 terabyte drive. Basically, it's big. It can hold enough information of like most libraries, right? You could take like a whole library of information and stick it on that. And that is just from 1956 till today. And again, you just kind of see, again, even just 10 years ago, how much this has advanced to where we are today. It's astounding. So I think that's another cool one to think about. This is cool, right? Ice truck, 1900. So if you were somebody, lived in the early 1900s, you would get your ice through an ice truck. And by the 1980s, you get the space shuttle flying up on a regular basis or semi-regular basis. And you have that as well. So that's pretty cool one, I think. Another pretty dramatic change in 100 years. Warfare, 1917. This is one of my favorite trench warfare pictures I use in my lectures. And then by 1945, we have atomic bombs, right? I mean, the leap on that is pretty crazy. If you think about that jump in technology. And again, if you were to do another image today in terms of technology, let's say we compared planes. I don't have that one, but that would be a really cool one to include too. I'd love to hear in your comments some other things that would include, right? That maybe I didn't include in this as you watch this, but this would be a cool change from one period to another. That'd be great. But if you look at a plane from World War II and the stealth bombers we have today, such a shift. All right, here's a couple interesting ones, just people, right? So Abraham Lincoln was born in 1809. Ronald Reagan was born in 1911. Now, most people today, if you think Abraham Lincoln, we don't have like a connection with him at all. Ronald Reagan, I mean, I'm sure there's some younger people watching this going, who? Oh, God help us. I think everybody I know of is, oh yeah, Ronald Reagan, and people think, oh my God, how long ago was he? But still, they were less than 100 years apart when they were born. And here's another really crazy mind bender. Thomas Jefferson died 1826. Now we think Thomas Jefferson and we think, oh my God, colonial times and, obviously such a long time ago. And Albert Einstein, we think, oh yeah, Albert Einstein, he wasn't that long ago. And he was born less than, 100 years between the birth date between them is less than 100 years. So you have that one as well. And this is one I use in my class, actually. So this is more local to where I am. Wilshire and Santa Monica. It's an intersection. And 1924 to 1954. Same intersection within, what is it, 30 years there, how much it changed. And can you imagine like taking someone from the Middle Ages and dropping them in the middle of that intersection and having them sit there for 30 years watching these changes? They'd be like, oh my God, what sorcery is this, right? So you have that. I think that's a pretty dramatic image of things changing in less than 100 years. And this is the last image, and this is kind of a personal note to talk about it, but this image on my left is my grandfather, right? And the one on the right is my daughter, and I have a younger son as well. But my grandparents, if you think about it, were born in a world with gas lamps, and they traveled like by horse, but they lived long enough to see airplanes and the moon landing, right? That's pretty crazy. My parents, they grew up watching things like black and white TV, and now literally, they carry these, supercomputers in their pockets, right? I mean, all the information in the world is in this device, and my parents, who are still, in their 80s and such, have that. That's pretty crazy. And then I think about my kids who are literally growing up in a world that already has AI, space tourism for a few people, self-driving cars are now a thing on a small level. What's going to happen by the time they're, grandparents' age, and what's going to happen with their children? I mean, we're going to have people playing basketball on Mars by then or something. So it's pretty insane if you think about how much things advance. We think of 100 years as a long time, yet things advance so much. So anyways, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed making this video. I can't wait to hear your comments, and again, throw in some other things that you think are really dramatic changes in 100 years. Hopefully this will be kind of a fun video a lot of people will watch and enjoy. All right, everybody. And I've got several other things. I have another really cool video on things that are nostalgic, the things that have gone that we still wish were here. I think that's another fun one. If you enjoyed this one, you'll definitely like that video as well. All right, everyone. Have a great one. Thank you.